Hello, YouTube, and welcome to the In Your Head podcast. My wooing guest this afternoon and this evening, I guess it's this evening, is Vegas Lancaster.
Hey.
Good evening, Vegas. How are
Jesse,
you, sir?
I'm good.
Thank
you for letting me in your house.
Oh, thank you
We're
for
in
being
his
on the-
house. Did you know that?
Yes, this gorgeous studio and backdrop and couches just in the middle of my living room. So there's not much behind the camera, I promise you. It's
Jesse's whole house is just black fabric everywhere.
Shh, don't ruin the magic. You're going to spoil it for them. I don't want everybody to know I have black velvet hanging up in every room.
Very strange.
Yeah, shh. So thank you for coming on today, Vegas,
Yeah.
and it is great to have you on. But before we get into any interviewing, I always have to bring my statute of initiation to everybody I bring onto the podcast, which you have brought something for us, which is something that you may have done that is marginally illegal or something you might not be proud of that you've done in the past.
I know you were saying a lot of the guys, their stories from when they were like kids or teens.
Yeah.
Mine is from just a few years ago. I was up in Boston for PAX, which is the like penny arcade video game convention kind of thing. And I was staying up at a hotel with my friend Ray. We were staying up real late, and every hotel, as you know, has a copy of the Bible hidden in the drawers. And we were playing a game called the Bible drinking game, which is where we would take turns. This was a very sacrilegious game. We would take turns reading the Bible out loud, and whenever something didn't make logical sense, we would drink. Which was, every other sentence.
Yeah, I was wondering, is your friend dead?
Nah.
By any chance?
Nah. So we went through like a growler of stout, which is a lot of beer.
It's about a gallon or so, isn't it? Yeah.
And we were both feeling pretty drunk. Me more than Ray. And Ray is a guy who loves walking. So in the middle of the night, we started taking a walk around Boston to try to sober up a bit. And we came across a large building which had a mailbag out front of it.
Okay.
Because I guess mailman was doing some late night delivering or something. And I tried to steal that mailbag.
Oh, jeez.
And Ray stopped me. And also the mailman stopped me.
Jesus.
Which is good, because that would be a federal crime.
Yes, that's a federal crime. That's not good.
So, yeah, you
Wow.
really disrespecting America and the religious patriots who live in America.
The Gideons, I believe, are the ones who placed those Bibles in the hotels.
I'm sorry.
Was the mailbag empty? Is my first question.
Nah, there was mail in it.
That late at night?
I don't know what that was. I was thinking about that when I was on my way here, thinking about this story, because I was like, I'm going to tell my dumb, drunk Boston Bible stealing mail story. And I was like, that's a real hole in the story, because it was like 2 a.m. when I was trying to steal this mail, and there was definitely a mailman with it. I don't know if Boston has some kind of crazy late night mail delivery scheme. But I'm not making it up, Jesse.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's just it does seem weird. Like, I know mail trucks, like, they drive probably all night, like the tractor trailers that'll go from A to B to get mail, from the postal service to the other one. But it just seems weird that there's a guy with a thing of mail. I mean, I think you might have got bamboozled by said mailman. I think this guy was probably delivering something illicit under the guise of a mail. But this is what I'm thinking. Was delivering something under the guise of a mailman so that nobody would mess with him.
You think instead of stealing mail, I was trying to steal 30 pounds of cocaine?
Yeah, something along those lines. I mean, who would bother with a guy that looks like a mailman? Like, nobody's going to bother with a mailman.
No one but a very drunk idiot.
It just seems weird. I mean, you said it was hanging there and he just wandered away from it?
No, it was sitting on the cement in front of a building, and he was in the building doing something, and I was like, I'm gonna take that mailbag. And then he came out and was like, hey, don't touch that. And Ray was like, yeah, don't touch that. Come on, we gotta go.
There's some questions in that are left up for debate.
Yeah.
That's a civil servant. They aren't usually working at 2 in the morning.
2 a.m.
This is going to take some thought. I'm gonna be pondering this now. This is one of the first one of these that I think I've had that's going to keep me up for a little bit thinking about it. So, as we were talking before we started, you are a man of comedy, a man of improv, Cat in Vegas and the Temple of Boom, which is usually in New York. I believe most of your shows are.
So we do the first Friday of every month. We're in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And we just did a show I don't know when you put this up. We just did a show towards the end of January in New York. We're going to be at the People's Improv Theater in New York on February 17th.
Okay. I'll make sure I plug this otherwise beforehand. I'll put links and stuff up for that before.
Cool.
And the video goes live if it doesn't, but
awesome. Neat. And then another Saturday in March we'll be back in New York. And we do the first Friday of every month at Latage in Philly.
Okay, cool. I definitely want to get to check out some of your shows. It's been our schedules haven't meshed. I've seen the posts, but my schedules hasn't usually been free to get you. So, but I see a lot of your work at High Note. Again, everybody who knows everybody who's watched this knows that I'm pulling another person from High Note. Another one of the guys who helps run High Note. So I mean, it's been great watching your comedy for, I guess, over a year that I've been hanging around in one shape or form.
Has been great having you run sound and help us run the technical aspects of the show, which disorganized comedians are often very bad at doing.
Well, I mean, I can see when a lot of the guys there don't want to just sit behind the board. It's nice because so many of their friends are there and they want to get and mingle, and it's nice for those guys to be able to do that and get out there and and be there with their buddies and stuff like that. So
sure,
to have to sit there at the board every week, I can see why it would be kind of like, oh man, and it's got to be a drag. And Troy Moore, one of the guys who's from High Note, I probably mentioned him on here before. He was the guy usually stuck with the detail, and it was a bit of a shame. And I know he was relieved to not have to be there anymore, and it would he could relax about it. But somebody had to pick it up because he did get a new job, so he's not at High Note all the time usually. Nothing against him, believe me, but it's much more important to have a job than come hang out with us at High Note for sure. But seeing him there, it's been it's seen him as a relief watching him. He's like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. It's so nice.
Yeah. You're like, I can see why people wouldn't want to do this. That's why I do it every week.
Well, somebody's gotta. I mean, the only drawback, to be fair, I do get to watch a lot of fun comics. I mean, it is fun being with you guys and hanging out. The only drawback is it's like 5-minute sets, but not everybody does 5 minutes. So I can't guarantee that if I have to go somewhere and get up, it's going to be 5 minutes. So the only comic that's usually there is Ramon Bender, who was on a previous episode. He's the only one I can get up because he does a song.
Right, yeah, you know exactly how much time he's going to
he's going to do 3 minutes-ish, but I can hear the song. If I got to speed up, I can speed up. So if I got to pee, I got to wait till Ramon's coming up to leave the spot. Or, I feel bad bothering somebody, like getting somebody like, hey, come over and,
Yeah, no, amateur comics, you have no idea how much time they're going to do. Because a lot of them are like, I wrote 90 seconds. Well, thanks.
That's what happens.
Bye.
And then if I'm in the bathroom, then all of a sudden that guy gets off the stage and there's no music. And it's like, oh, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
So I've tried to prevent that. But, I mean, you guys have been supportive, even with me just being, a background piece. It's been nice to,
Super
to be
helpful.
with you guys. Well, and I appreciate it. You guys have been cool, and it's been nice to feel like I fit in with you guys. Even though I'm not a comic, I don't go on stage. It's nice to feel like I fit into some, to some extent.
Yeah,
so,
man.
I know it's like if you go out with the sports guys, you gotta know sports, and like you fit in with somebody else. I mean, I know sports, and I'm not saying I don't, but it's like, if you're not hardcore sports, you don't fit in with the sports guys.
Sure.
So it's nice to be able to not be a comedian and still hang out with the comics.
Nice.
So that's why you guys have been awesome. So, So I mean,
cool open mic comics.
It is. I mean, it's you know, a lot of these guys have a shell that you just have to get through.
Yeah.
And once you can see what that is, you've got to get past that stage persona, and you see something totally different with them. So yeah, it's been fun, you know, hanging out with all you guys. So, are you doing any shows yourself coming up? Do you have any booked shows, or is just?
I mean, it's mostly I do shows with the N Crowd in Philadelphia all the time.
Okay.
That's they're a short form improv group, kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right.
And their show has been running for 13 years.
Wow.
I've been a part of that group for when was 2009?
That was a while back now. Wow.
For 7 or 8 years, I guess. Yeah. And they have a show every Friday night. I'm not in every show, but I'm in like 2 shows a month with them. And then, like I was saying, I do the Cat in Vegas, which is a musical improv duo. So I don't do an occasional stand-up show here or there, but I think I have more fun doing the improv with other people.
Yeah.
And I keep doing the open mic because I like seeing the guys and, you know, keeping somewhat sharp on it. But
yeah, I've watched what you've done with improv, and I've seen a lot of people haven't seen it. Well, I guess I haven't in a while, but they talk about something that you did very recently, a couple weeks ago. You essentially went almost 2/3 of the way through the night, but you had something on just about every comic set that went, and they were like, "Oh, that's something Vegas does," and that showed me like the power of your improv, of what you could do.
The power of improv.
Like to see. I mean, if you haven't seen this and you're watching this, you have to come out to High Note and watch some of Vegas's, you know, work, because the stuff you've come up with, and again, something else from earlier when I wasn't really part of High Note was the Slash Fiction Night. And excuse me, you came up with a parody of the entire song from Lion King, the Be Prepared song.
Yeah, Scar's song.
Yeah, and you did the entire Scar song as a Donald Trump parody, I believe it was, right? Was it a Trump parody? Yeah, I think it was a Trump parody. And my God, if that wasn't... And in what, probably 25 minutes?
Yeah.
I believe you wrote that thing?
Yeah.
And it was incredible. It killed that night. It was amazing. I know you won that night. I think the other comics were even voting for you at that point, one of which was slightly inebriated, but he said, yeah, you won. Believe that was Alex Perlman, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it amazes me that improv brain, that quick thinking that you have. I guess is it something that you started to learn in improv, like, or in comedy in general?
I don't know. I've been doing improv since college. I was in like the college improv group.
Okay.
And actually I was in like an 8th grade acting class, and we played improv games like Whose Line Is It Anyway games in that class. And even at that time I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. But yeah, I guess I've just been doing a lot of it. You know, like I said, I've been with the N Crowd for 8 or 9 years, 7 years, something like that, and do my other show. I've done a bunch of weird shows in Philly. So I guess it's something I have just a lot of practice at. You know, the N Crowd, we practice every Tuesday night, and it's just like practicing basketball or any other skill. You know, we'd work on exercises and play games and sort of run drills to get better at it.
That makes sense. I never really knew how improv trained, so this is kind of new to me too. It's a lot of what I want to do on this podcast is learn a little deeper, and for my guests and myself to learn what it is, because it's, you see improv and you just think maybe it's just this special person. He's got this bam, and he can come up with something, but like you said, it's that training that I never thought was there.
I think I think just being like funny is, from the time you're a little kid, you just think about being funny all the time and always want to be funny, and if you can't make people laugh, it makes you sad and uncomfortable. Like, I think it is a constant accidental internal practice that makes people grow up to be funny.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to be a comic, you work on that skill more.
Yeah, because I've definitely seen it's worked on two different ways as far as the way a comic seems to write, and they write that joke and then see how it hits, and then you might move the joke around, and and it's fun. That's the other fun part about being in High Note with you guys, to see how you guys work on a joke and watch it take shape over time.
Yeah.
And that's really a fun process, but it's definitely, it's not improv, because improv, once it's out there, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that happened,
That's what's more fun for me, are jokes that are like, this is funny right now, in this moment, today, in this room, for these reasons.
Yeah.
More so than like, hey, this is a joke that I wrote and then rewrote and have been working on for a year until I found the perfect way to deliver this joke. And that might be a better and funnier joke, but for me, that's less fun.
Okay. See, that's what I always wondered. So it is the improv side that you do, which is your love more than.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I like stand up too. But I wish I could do like an hour-long stand-up set that's like completely original every night. And I don't know if that's possible. I know there's some guys who do like a ton of crowd work, and that's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
Which I don't really do a lot of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if the thing I want to do exists or can be done.
Yeah, I guess it's either one or the other. You have an improv show, or you have that fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever seen, like an hour of a comedian doing fresh stuff. I don't think I've ever.
Nah, I mean, it's because stand-up is so. You have to be really good, Like, that's one of the differences I always say between an improv audience and a stand-up audience. Like, an improv audience is like, these guys are making stuff up on the spot. That's really impressive. I couldn't do that. So I'm kind of with them and understand that they're making stuff up, and am supportive from the very beginning.
Okay.
Whereas a stand-up audience kind of walks into a show and is like, you better, can I curse?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You fucker better be funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And
make me laugh. And you have to like fight them and make them laugh. And then you kind of have, it's rolling. But an improv audience, I think you have to stink for a couple minutes in a row before you really lose them. Whereas stand-up, you like have to win them from the beginning.
Right, because that dead time as a regular comedy audience, and seeing, I guess, even the open mic audience, I guess, but you still kind of feel that it is that same thing. Like, once it starts to die, you're like, uh-oh. And you can feel that. And we've had nights where, okay, it dies for a little bit, and it's like, oh, and the energy just goes. But when it's just up here, or, 8-10 comics, just everybody's fired up and everybody's laughing, it really does. It feels like, okay, they're with you, and it's
Man, that's like my favorite thing is being on stage. I love, of course, but even being in an audience for like just a really funny, good, exciting show. That I'm always. It's cool, like, that people make movies and can put products out in front of millions of people by filming it. But I always, I think I'm always going to prefer live audiences to anything filmed or recorded.
Okay, it's fair. It's more, I guess, I don't know if the word's visceral, but it feels more real.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a primal community thing, like laughing with a group of people, or what it is, but I really, really like that.
Because even if you put a movie out, you're not going to see those people's reactions when they do it. Or when they watch it. You're gonna put it out, and it's on film, and that's it. So every person can react different. When you're in a comedy room and you're in front of 50 people, you did a thing, 5 people laugh. Okay, that's what happened with what you said, and I think it's definitely more qualitative or quantitative. Would it be? It's definitely more quantitative, I guess, would be the quantitative would be it. Yeah, it's so you have that you know how it is. You know exactly what's going to happen, because when you put something on film, it's out there and that's it. It's done like this.
Yeah.
I put something on film and that's it. It's
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
So I don't know how my guests or my viewers are watching it on YouTube. They can be sitting and going,
Well,
or they're laughing.
If they're watching it the way I watch YouTube, they found one of 4 or 5 channels that they put on when they want to fall asleep, and they put it on, and one video ends, and they sort of wake up and start the next one, and then fall asleep 2 minutes into the. That's how I fall asleep, Jesse.
That's not too bad. I mean, if anybody wants to do that, feel free. I wouldn't be offended, because it'll get me some nice long time view, so it'll cover most of the hour of my podcast. So feel free, go for it.
And then if you've got autoplay on,
that would be fantastic. The subscribe button's great. Autoplay is also fantastic, as my guest spills his drink into his eye here.
And all over your lovely couch.
Oh, it's okay.
Which is your real couch.
It's Scotch guarded. It's fine. So I'm going to bring up a story because I just had a guest on in the previous podcast, and this story is going to tie you both together, and you're going to know. So the start of your comedy career, you're probably going to remember this. There was a comedy college championship thing. So you can guess there's one of 2 people that I had on this podcast that would tell this story.
Yeah.
So I had Will on.
Oh, okay.
So
gotcha.
Yeah. So I had Will on, and so obviously there was tension when you guys first met a little bit, because you won said championship.
Well, maybe for them.
Well, obviously there was none for you. So was that really when you that was like when you got started, and that was, you said after that kind of championship win, you were like, I'm loving this. I'm going to enjoy doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I was already doing stand up at like college bar nights. I don't know if that, like weird college things.
Yeah.
That you do in dorm open spaces or on like the campus eating areas. I would do like stand up here or there, and there was a little flyer that went in everyone's mailboxes, and it was like, sign up for the New Jersey State college comedy championships. And all of my friends took their flyers and put it in my mailbox. I was like, all right, I'll sign up for this thing.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting to win that when I was in college, because I was like, oh, I don't need to continue taking classes. I'll just be a famous comedian, and that'll be how will be very rich and successful. And that's why, as a 31-year-old, I am sitting on your couch, tired from my insurance claims adjuster job.
Well,
I was going to go to law school, but now I'm a comedian. Woohoo!
Oh, boy. Well, there you go, folks.
I still have to pay all this debt? Oh, no!
So that's what you were in school for, was pre-law?
I went to school for philosophy, and when you start your philosophy course, the department head had a meeting with all the majors and said, philosophy is really a great course of study because there's so much you can do with it. You can get a doctorate and teach philosophy. You can go to law school, or you could double major.
So your options are more philosophy, so just double down on the philosophy with the doctorate.
Well, he didn't know you could drop out and become a comic.
You better go back and talk to this guy and tell him there's a number 4, man. I thought that's usually what happened with, like, oh man, with most other degrees, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad degrees you can get.
And it's kind of a shame. I mean, I don't want to get into that whole discussion because I know how bad it is and the way it's been with a lot of this stuff, but that's been kind of a sordid point where they'll tell you there's so much you can do with this, and no. My wife has a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
It's useless.
Yeah.
100% useless. I mean, it's not useless. I mean, it is what it is, but there's not a lot of fields for a biology degree.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
rough.
What can you do with it? And a lot of people see, yeah, oh yeah, psych, psychology. Okay, you're going to be you're going to either be a psychologist or what?
And I think it's really cool that people can go to school and study those things, even if it's not gonna be super useful, because it's cool for people to learn stuff, and a small percentage of people are gonna be so good at it that they actually will become,
Yeah.
a person who invents new germs or whatever.
Yeah.
It sucks that people go to school for these things and then have to pay a ton of debt on it later.
Yeah, the cost is where it just becomes an issue. I mean, if I wanted to just go take a class, even that's kind of prohibitively expensive. Just to sit down and I'm just gonna, like you said, get some knowledge, learn stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a class for work, and they're like reimbursing me. And it's just at a community college, and it's like $500.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's a lot just to take. I mean, I guess there's a lot of stuff on the internet nowadays, so I guess that's not a bad way to learn some stuff anymore. Is just there's classes and videos on the internet to learn stuff, and it's a lot cheaper. So I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there. I know there's a couple things that used to be. Oh, that's going to escape me because I can't remember what it's called, but it was almost like classes you could take online that were a lot cheaper, and you could just it felt like classes. It would learn you like classes. You'd be studying, and you'd get you'd learn stuff, but it wasn't like college credit cost, which was nice. So I
think MIT puts all of their classes online for free, and you can like study and study them and sort of take the class yourself at your own pace. You don't get credits or any kind of degree for it, but if you want to learn stuff, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, which is nice. If you just want to have some knowledge, why not? It can't hurt you.
I think we should socialize education, but hey, I'm not in charge. I'm some dropout.
The college dropout says we should socialize education. That's always, I'm sure that's what a lot of people would probably say, right? Is that?
Yeah.
So, I got to ask you, as I'm a bit of a geek myself. I've got to ask a question. I have a feeling I know the answer because I think we've mentioned this, but I've asked everybody, what is your favorite video game? Now, if it's a series, just give me one.
Okay. So the first thing that came to mind when you asked that was Earthbound on Super Nintendo.
Okay.
I think we have talked about
that's what
that
I had a feeling you might say.
Before, which is like an RPG where you're Ness, a 10-year-old boy who has to save the world from aliens.
And the modern generation probably only knows them from Super Smash Brothers. That's
probably guys. If you only know Ness from Super Smash Brothers, you should go play Earthbound.
You should absolutely play Earthbound. It is fantastic, fun RPG. A little dark in spots.
Yeah, it's quirky. It's it's what a weird game. It's a really weird game.
It is. It's weird, but it's fun. It's a fun weird and have fun. I mean, really, pick it up. I mean, if you're gonna emulate it, please, because God knows where you're gonna find it. Otherwise, nowadays it's probably
those cartridges are like $200.
Yeah, so probably on an emulator, but emulate it, check it out, sit down, play it. It is a ball, and I'm gonna say 100%. It is a fun game to play. It's a totally different RPG feel than other RPGs. The battle system's a little bit different, but the story's really fun.
That game, Undertale, that came out a year or two ago, that was like a super popular indie game. That was very clearly inspired by Earthbound. In my mind,
very similar. So if you liked Undertale, check it out. Yeah, because it even had obviously Undertale had the retro feel, but it was Super Nintendo, so it's got a retro feel. I guarantee you. But yeah, oh man, that was a great game back in the day, man. There's so many of those, the RPGs from back then that you just want to hang on to, that you don't want to get. The Final Fantasy series from the Super Nintendo era were all fantastic, and you just don't want to.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger.
Another one that was just fantastic. Was there a second game you were thinking of? You said there was one that popped into your head immediately, but it seemed like you were thinking on something else.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it because my buddy posted. It was like one of those things that goes around, like name your 10 favorite whatevers.
Yeah.
And it was name your favorite game from every console you've owned that people were posting, and so that question had been on my mind this week because I was thinking about it. Metal Gear Solid, my favorite game on PlayStation.
The PlayStation, yeah, that was a fun game.
Yeah, the first game that I remember playing where like 3D was a big part of it because you would like crawl under things to hide, and you would like there would be a pillar and there would be a guard on one side, and you would use the 3D to sneak around. That does not sound incredible now, but at the time,
it was. It was revolutionary. I mean, even like I had fired that game up recently because I bought an old PS1, the little tiny ones, and I fired it up. I'm like, oh my god, it's like it is rough. Like you don't remember it being that rough looking.
Yeah.
But the fun was still there. It was such a neat game. You're just like, oh man, and you see a guy around the corner, and you're like, you knock on the wall, and the guy, oh, what? And he comes running around and to find out what's going on, and then you and then you knock him out or whatever, and it was something so different than what we had before.
Yeah, and it has like great voice acting.
Yeah,
there's so many games from that era, especially with just the worst voice acting in the world. But this had like David Hayter, who does the voice of Snake. He's so cool, Jesse.
He was cool. That was a fun game to play, especially with some of the stuff they hid in there with Psycho Mantis. I think everybody remembers their battle with Psycho Mantis and how to get through that battle because it was just so like they just really made it different there. And the way that
he reads your memory card and makes fun of the other games that you own.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to plug your controller 1 into the controller 2 slot to get him to stop reading your mind and predicting your actions.
Yeah, and that was something different. That was something really cool that you'd never seen in a game.
Yeah.
Like that actually it was fourth wall breaking, but different, you know, different than like a Deadpool level. It was just like oh man, it's really having fun with you and kind of playing, which was neat. I think my favorite memory from that game though, it was so weird. Like you could normally crawl under a table if a guard saw you, and then he'd just like forget where you went.
Yeah,
and that was because the AI wasn't great. Again, early to mid '90s was this game, I guess. And one time I crawled under a table trying to get away from a guard, and I'm following him, watching his legs walk around the table because it went first person. So I'm watching him. I'm like, okay, I think he's giving up on me, and he stopped. And I'm like, oh, what's he doing? Is he leaving? And then he just rolled a grenade under the table and blew my ass up.
That's awesome, yeah.
And I was so mad, but then I wasn't at the same time because it was too funny to get mad at the game. It was like, God damn it, he got me.
Yeah.
And it was perfect because they never did that to me before. Usually you crawled under the table, they were just like, I don't know where he went, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Like they lost track of you, so they left. But that one guard, and I'll always remember him because it was the same room where there's a guard taking a leak at a urinal. And you're just supposed to go up and just ruin his day.
Yeah.
And it feels awful, but it's like, oh, man, but I made too much noise. That guard stopped taking a leak, and his buddies came in and found me, so I deserved it, I guess.
Oh, that fight with the helicopter?
Oh,
so good.
Yeah, it was what was the name of the helicopter? What was
the Hind D?
The Hind D. That's it. Yes, the Hind. And you're fighting a helicopter as one man.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a chance.
Snake's just so cool though.
He's badass. But that was a great game too. So that's a tough choice between the two of them.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go between them. But before this whole thing started, and before we started hitting the record button on here, I gave you a piece of paper with some circles on it, and I asked you to fill them in however you saw fit.
Yeah.
And so for our viewers, that is what happened here. So that is what Vegas started to draw.
Can people see that? What?
Yeah, they'll see it all right below there. They see it as we see it. So so this started out in the top left corner. I mean, it's pretty easy to follow what happened here. It takes a little bit less explanation than most of the drawings that we've had on here, believe me. So why did this start where it did? And B, why did it go where it did? I have to ask.
Cool. So, I wanted, you told me to fill out these circles and draw things.
Yep.
I thought they looked like. Well, I'm not a good enough artist to do 11 different Family Circus comics.
Oh God. No, you don't need that.
But I thought they kind of looked like little fish globes. So I made a little fish globe, and then fish gets bigger, and then I thought I'd tell a story about a fish getting too big for its globe, and then dying.
Oh, see, I didn't know how it ended. I didn't know if the fish just left.
No, it died.
Oh. Man, it had a sad ending. I was hoping for no sad ending, but it has a sad ending. Oh.
The end.
Yeah, he doesn't look as happy in that one. I hope it shows up for the viewers, but it's more just a straight 2 dots and a little line for the face, and he's kind of a smiley fish in a couple of these.
Yep.
Oh. So, but why? So you said you are a bit of a fish fan before.
Yeah.
This had started. You do like fish.
Yeah,
so.
I've got a aquarium at home with a betta fish in it.
There you go.
And it's a lot of people keep betta fish in like something real small like this. This is like a 5-gallon aquarium, and he has little fish friends and like live plants and a waterfall.
Nice.
It's too much.
Well, he's
gave him too much.
No, that's if we bring something like that into our house, it's right that we should keep it in a reasonable environment that is somewhat decent.
Yeah, this is a fish that we found in a really crappy pet store, and he was in like a Tupperware container, and it had like this much water left in it.
Oh, jeez.
And it was like the water was discolored, and he was just like barely had enough water to fit in. So we bought the fish because we felt bad for it, and then just built it a little paradise.
Well, then I have to ask though, how come he is? I'll get this off of here for everybody there. How come it's actually doing well with other fish? From what I remember, I'm hearing they're extremely aggressive.
They are. So I looked up what kind of fish you can keep with betta fish, and they have to be like kind of drab in color and like smaller than it. So it basically they want to kill other betta fish, other male betta fish, to keep them away from females.
Right.
And since betta fish are very colorful, if you bring another colorful fish into the situation, it'll like go nuts and try to kill it. But if you get kind of boring little fish, he basically ignores them, and they're small enough that if he tries to chase them, they just kind of swim away.
Okay. See, I always wondered that about those, because I've always seen them, and they're usually, they're in a thing like that, and it's just like, it seems like they should have some space to...
Yeah. I mean, you can keep them in a small thing, but he seems... I mean, I don't know if this sounds dumb, but he seems a lot happier.
Oh, yeah, anything's better than swimming around in something that big.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, it's well. Hey, at least it's cool you found him and did something for him. And they are cool fish. They are neat the way they look. I mean, I think they actually breathe air.
Yeah,
they actually breathe from the surface.
Yeah, they come up and gulp air from the, and that's why you don't need like a fancy tank with a bunch of filtration, because if you keep them in crappy water, it's not as bad for them as it is other fish, because they live in like these mud puddles in Vietnam, and they can live in a nice body of water, but like I guess in the dry season or something, when it's just puddles, they kind of like are just in these crappy little puddles, and that's why they breathe air instead of breathing through water.
Wow. Wacky.
Yeah.
And they are pretty though. They would pretty up any tank. I used to remember having show guppies, and they're kind of cool, but their lifespan is short, and they're a pain in the ass to take care of.
Gotcha.
I could never figure these things out because they were just... They're cool to have, but... They bred once. They bred once somehow. I don't know how it happened, but they bred, and then it's like, oh no, they'll all eat the other young, and then it just turned into a mess because I wasn't prepared, and... So it's like, it didn't go well. And I tried to... So I didn't know one of them was breeding, and it was... But... they're kind of cool looking. They're the only cool freshwater fish that you see. A lot of freshwater fish, they're not colorful. They're not bright.
Yeah. Most of the colorful fish are like tropical fish.
Yeah, saltwater stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are freshwater, but from like not from around here.
No. Yeah, pull it out of the Delaware. It's probably not going to be real bright.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be gray.
Fish are cool, you guys. That's what I'm about.
Hey,
Fish are cool. Metal Gear Solid. Earthbound. Drinking and stealing mail.
We have found out a lot about Vegas so far. But unfortunately, I always bring it down a little bit at this point in the show. It's not as bad as you think.
This is the time of the show where we lower the tempo.
Yeah, no, it's not so bad. I've tried to work the way I've worded this to make it to make it more understandable as way I want to look at it. But I ask if today was like your last day on Earth, or you look back at your life as the way it's lived.
Yeah.
How would you feel about the life you've led, and people and things like that? And what's always kind of come up the way I say it is like, would people at your funeral be like, he was a great guy? That. How would people feel about you after you're gone? That kind of thing is what I mean to ask.
Cool. I'm pretty happy with my life so far. If I died right now, I would be disappointed in being dead.
And I don't mean right. I would hope. I mean that's a good thing. But obviously I know we're younger, so I know I haven't completed everything I wanted to complete. So yeah. I know that much. But how would you feel about the life itself you've led?
Good.
That sounds like it's said with a question mark.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I'm not. I used to, when I was a little younger, I was like, yo, I gotta be famous. I gotta have TV shows, or like an hour on Broadway that you can watch on Netflix or whatever. And now I'm like, yeah, I like doing weird comedy for 30, 40 person crowds in strange little bars in the city.
Okay.
I like playing D&D with my friends, and reading comic books, and kind of doing everything I want to do, very satisfied.
See, and then that's a good, it's a great way to look at it. So many people have worried, like, oh, if you interview a bunch of comics, you're just going to get a bunch of really downer answers. And I'm like,
yeah.
Which I haven't, actually. A lot of them seem to be pretty happy with the life they've led, and or are leading. And it's nice to see, because I was always worried about that, like with myself. I don't want to be somebody who just goes through life, does what he needs to do, and then, that's it. Like, yeah, if you have a Netflix show, that's great, but how will people remember you? Look at everything Harvey Weinstein may have done through his life. Well, I mean, look at it. It's topical, so I'm going to bring it up. But look at what he's done through his life. I mean, he's produced all this. He's done all that stuff, but he's not remembered for that now. Even before all of it came out, he still probably would have been remembered as that scumbag guy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be remembered. Obviously, I don't have to worry about that stuff. But either way,
I don't want to be remembered as the figure that inspired a movement of outing sexual harassers.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been. I mean, if it was, I would hope it would have been for a different reason. Yeah. Maybe I just, hopefully not for that reason. But it's look what he did, look what he accomplished, and you could have made millions of dollars in anything, but he's vilified for being that person, and that's you don't want to be remembered that way, and that's
nah. Definitely not.
No, and so you can make millions, you can be famous, but how do you leave that legacy? That's all you have after you're gone. You don't have money. You maybe leave some student loan debt around. Most of us probably will.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a having kids kind of guy. So I wouldn't have a genetic legacy that I would leave behind.
That's okay.
I hope I had fun with some people. They liked that.
It's not a bad way to go then.
Yeah.
So if you could go back to a point in your life, or any point in time that you could, not like a specific day, but maybe an era, if you want, like where would you go if you had to, if after you were gone you could spend your entire eternity at a certain time, time of your life?
Oh, if I could spend eternity at a certain point in my life, man, I wish I could say college, because that's when I had the most fun. Maybe it's nice to live with your friends and be around them all the time,
Yeah.
and to drink a lot and not have a lot of responsibilities or really anything bad that can happen to you. But I also feel like I'm realizing I was kind of an idiot at that time. I'm pretty happy right now, like I said. But I didn't have to go to work when I was in college.
See, there's that. That's not bad.
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
I guess a recent point in my life where I was unemployed but not out of money is probably the best place.
It's I've got a lot of mixed answers on this one, which has been interesting, because some people are like, "Oh, right now is fantastic." Jeff Colella, who was just on, was like, he was like, "Right now is fantastic," and
Great
that's
way to feel,
and that's great. I mean, that is amazing. There's not a lot of people who can say that, and some people were like, "Yeah, college," or some people were like pre-college. Like, I think somebody said like their junior year of high school was like great, because they had that really tight group of friends, and it was just that really solid time that they were really having that good time of their life, which is fair.
That's cool.
And so it's neat to see that, and I believe even Jeffrey Michael was like when he met his wife.
Aww.
Like that time, that first few weeks or month or two that he met his wife would be,
that's sweet.
And it's cool to see where everybody comes from with that, and especially like for you, because it's the beginning of your comedy time, and getting to develop that, and getting to like, if for me, going and being able to develop and going through everything that you would have for comedy would be a really cool time, getting to go through that championship over and over again.
I mean, it was fun to like be winning stuff and feel like I had my whole future ahead of me, whereas now it's like, I think the shows that I put on are better, but I'm less optimistic about the future, which is funny. I guess it's just a matter of perspective.
We're all our own harshest critics, to be fair.
Yeah.
When you've seen your own work, you can be like, you could kill all night. And I've seen comics do it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll kill, and then they'll be like, I didn't do so great. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, I had to go to the bathroom after your set because I almost pissed myself, and you're telling me, no, it wasn't that great. Like, so I've seen a lot of guys that'll do that, and I guess it can.
I think you really, if you are going to be really good at something, you need to be super critical of yourself, because that's like, if you can be pretty good at something and think you're great, but if you're going to be really, really good at something, you need to focus on all the flaws and try to scrub them out and still realize that they're there.
Yeah. Otherwise, you don't get better if you think that the first time you went up and the first time you told a joke, it was gold, done. That's it. And I guess with any hobby, I mean, woodworking, or the ones I know in particular, with playing sports. It's like you don't go out and all of a sudden say, well, I'm ready to go top tier, or any woodworking project. There's always more sanding to do. There's always, a little more finishing, a little touch up, straightening this and that. And so it's, you've got to want to have that, because otherwise you make shit projects.
Yeah, I think I always respect people who are always trying to get better, even when they're like really good at something already. And that's why I'm reluctant to be like, oh yeah, I would like to go back in the past to when I was a different person, because I'd like to think that I am better at things now than I was before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we all are. I mean, it's no good if you've been practicing for this long and you've gotten worse. That's
sometimes it feels that way.
See, but there you go. Like you said, you're looking at yourself. You're seeing more of the flaws, I mean, if you looked back at your old videos, which I guess are always painful, if you looked at a video of yourself from a month ago of being on stage, and then you looked at a video of yourself from college, which would you look back at and go, oh my God, like which one would really just make you cringe?
Yeah, no, definitely like old videos. Ugh,
because I know there's a couple out there.
There are. I hate them.
Are they out under your control? Because I think somebody told me to go look one up, and I did.
I think it's my friend Laura who has filmed me do stuff. Like, she would film me doing stuff as a favor and then put it online, but then like leave it there. You want to watch what I thought was funny 10 years ago? Go nuts.
There you go, folks. Just search Vegas Lancaster on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find something, but definitely search there for Cat in Vegas.
Yeah, what you should do is go to catandvegas.com. Cat is spelled with a C, like kitty cat. And we link to our YouTube page there, and that has some crummy videos and some really good ones.
Okay, and I'll definitely put a link below for people to check it out. 100%. I'll definitely make sure I get it out there on both my page and the podcast page.
Cool.
Do you have any Facebook or anything you like people to follow? Anything like that, other than just so you just want to stick with those?
I mean, I'm on Twitter at Vegas Lancaster. Sometimes I tweet that I'm doing a show, but usually I'm just tweeting about politics.
There we go. So if you want to see Vegas's rantings on politics, which by the way are funny, I think one of the first few times I saw you was I think when I was first getting around High Note was right around the election.
Ugh.
And
that is not a time in my life I want to relive forever.
No, well, maybe not for what it was, but as far as your comedy went, you were a man on fire. I am not going to lie, and I'm not really trying to blow smoke, but man, you were a man possessed on stage during most of the election, if not all of it.
I was so angry, Jesse.
It was, but you told it straight. You didn't try to. I remember a bit you did that. I couldn't bring any of it up, but you talked about most of Trump's cabinet selection.
Yeah.
And wow, did you hammer the point home, because you did your homework. It wasn't just like, I don't like this guy because he's Trump's. You had a valid issue with each point, and you made a good point. I've seen so many comics, especially ones at High Note, that just come up and go politics and go, fuck Trump, he's got bad hair, and
yeah.
And it does. It gets hacky a little bit, but every point you made about every single person on that cabinet, God, I know nothing about politics, so I can't even begin to argue politics, as you can tell with what I just said in my Trump argument. But every single point you made was, I'm assuming, researched, a valid point that you made it on each one of these people. It wasn't just like, oh, this guy, oh yeah, and then you said it about him. Like, it was something about the Secretary of Education.
Yeah, well, she, Betsy DeVos, she's, like, a billionaire who, has spent a whole bunch of money lobbying for, like, less, funds for public education and more funds for, like, private schools. And, what a terrible person to put in charge of all of public education.
Right, and it's... I don't know.
And she's never worked in a public school system. She's just a billionaire who hates public schools.
So almost a lobbyist is at that point.
I mean, yes, a lobbyist, but if you're that rich, why? What do you lobby? Wouldn't you just be rich? When you're a billionaire, why are you trying to get more money? You got a better shit to do?
And see,
you think I'd go to work if I was a billionaire?
No, probably not, because you'd be a billionaire comic.
I mean, I'd do this show.
Oh, thank you, Vegas. I'd hope you'd be a billionaire comic. You'd still be out on the road. You'd be out kicking ass on road. And
I don't think there are any billionaire comics.
You don't think so?
There's some big names that we know. Millionaire comics. I think there are lots of millions. Airs comics, but
okay.
I don't think there's a billionaire comic. That's like a lot of money.
Yeah, I need to start doing research between these videos and start finding things out and start putting little comments down there on the video and start putting a little
pop-up video.
It would be great. I mean,
I don't think there's billionaire boop. There are billionaire comics.
Yeah, and here's their names. So I need to Google so much more. And then back in the day, how did pop-up video know all that stuff? We could search for that. By the time this video is done saying, I'm sure somebody would have commented in the comments who's watching this going, oh, God, yeah, there is. And no, pop-up video, how did they even, that was way before Google.
Yeah, I don't know if they were going through library microfiche of pop culture magazines.
Oh, that's a sad waste of microfiche. That's a wicked waste. So at the end of all my podcasts, I present every one of my guests with an ink blot. Now, I've made every one of these ink blots individually. They're not out of a book. They're not from some Rorschach test or anything like that.
Okay.
So they don't mean anything if you see something. So don't worry. You can say what you see. I didn't really have a good look at this until I had pulled it out to bring it in here to start this. So you can probably look at it one of two ways. Now, the way the crowd is going to see it, they're probably going to see one thing, and that's probably all they're going to see. So, yeah. So if we need to flip this, we can. But if you see more in said image, feel free, because I mean, do you want to say the obvious of what you see?
So here's the thing. Before we started recording this and you were talking about the ink blot test, I joked, oh, does everyone say it looks like a vagina?
Oh.
But this does look a lot like a uterus.
Yeah, the white part of it does, actually.
Right?
I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Okay. He's got me on that one.
Yeah.
Or a couple of goose heads in there, actually, because there's really little dots in there in the goose heads.
Little goose heads?
But you see, you're looking in the negative space. Are we going to talk about the dark space of the picture?
Okay, the dark space looks like two dudes with thick eyebrows trying to kiss.
Okay.
Right? Is that what I'm looking at?
No, I can see that now. I for some reason saw just a pair of elephants right in front of each other.
Oh, little
with the trunks up top and the heads. I mean, it just almost
like
screamed.
Right through the middle. They're like standing on I see that.
Yeah, I just kind of saw two elephants playing patty cake, and that's really what I saw, and I couldn't get it out of my head.
That's cool.
And that was all that I could see. That, like he said, of course, you didn't want to just say, oh, I see a vagina. But no, I see the uterus, but I couldn't get past the two elephants when I first, after I broke it out.
I see the elephants.
But no, a lot of people have been saying faces. Like, that people have a tendency to try to find faces in these, and I think that's a definite human thing that we try to do.
Our brains love faces. Faces are so good to our brains. Yeah.
What if we inverted? Is there anything inverted?
Turn it this way?
Yeah, if we try to flip it over so we can see anything.
Oh, it's it looks like a grouchy bank owner.
Let me flip it over for the people here. I'll flip the video, the image.
Right? Look at that grouchy bank owner. He's got his little spectacles on. He's got these jowls.
That's some hefty jowls.
He's kind of bald up top, but he's got those like horseshoe hair.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, grouchy bank owner.
But definitely more faces. Yeah, he's definitely
more faces. Yeah.
But they always seem to be grumpy. Always, it seems to be whenever I make a one of these, it never seems to be happy faces. I don't know what it is.
It's unfortunate.
I don't know what it. Maybe it's the way I'm making my ink blots. Maybe I need to start pushing the paper together in a different way. Maybe it'll come out happy.
What do I see here that isn't a face? I'm trying to. I just got grouchy bank teller.
Yeah, no, it's like it's a lot of faces. It's interesting, and I see the nose with kind of a, the nose with the weird stash coming off, almost a Fu Manchu, I guess, kind of stash coming off the side.
Yeah,
I guess that's not a Fu Manchu. I don't know what that kind of mustache would be.
Yeah, it's a big mustache.
It's a healthy mustache. I guess I see mustaches a lot because I can't grow one. So I'm a little sad. So it's like, well, this is all I got. That's as good as it's getting.
Yeah, right off the old chinny.
Yeah, anything else, and I start to look homeless. So I try not to grow anything else in.
I grow hair really fast. I'm always growing hair.
It's not. But see, you have a good beard, and it's nice to have a good beard.
Thanks.
Some people don't know that they can't grow a good beard. And they try to grow a beard.
Yeah, they just have like a scruffy mess.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad. So it's unfortunate when they try to go that way. But that's yours. You can hang on to that. That is yours to keep.
Thank you.
And you can frame it in any orientation, either grumpy bank teller or.
Did you like make it and then fold it because it's symmetrical?
Yeah, it's. I take it and I take I have acrylic paint, black acrylic paint, and I put the drops on the paper, fold it over, and kind of press the paper together, and then undo it, and then let the chips fall where they may, and that's the image I get, because I do the drops from pretty high up to kind of get a random scattering, and then some are a little more. I tend to put a little too much paint sometimes. Sometimes I do a little bit less, and the paint there's a little bit more white area. But yeah, then it's squished together, and then tried to push it as flat as possible wherever the ink can go, and then I pull it apart, and that's what happens. So, and then I get a dried image. So, it's. I guess it's because I don't have that psychology degree, that would have been useful for sitting on podcasts and analyzing people when they look at your crazy ink blots.
Yeah.
But because I don't have that, it's fun to see what people see, because everybody's come up with. I've seen things in them that other people didn't, and some people see something that's just like, oh wow, like where did it come from? And it ties into the person and what they've talked about through the podcast, and it's neat to see how it gets, how the person sees it, and it is a little bit different. It's not, I don't want to just say, well, this paper says that if you see that, that means this, and that's not. It's not as fun. I don't, who am I to say how crazy someone is?
I mean, you can tell I'm always thinking about uterus and grumpy bank teller.
Does this have anything to do with the money that we've talked about that you mentioned earlier? See,
maybe.
See, it ties back in. It always ties back in. Oh man.
Also, I'm always thinking about crushing puss.
So I'm guessing you're not going to be sharing this podcast with your girlfriend, but you can be.
She hates podcasts.
Good, so she won't see this.
I'm always safe on a podcast because she's bored after the first few minutes.
So you just let it towards the end of the podcast. You let it all come out because she'll tune out before long. So thank you again for coming on this podcast and whatever it has devolved into.
My pleasure.
So again, everybody, I want you to check out Cat in Vegas, and I'm going to put links below to their site. They are a blast. Come check this guy out at High Note. We're there every Wednesday for that.
Yeah.
And it's always a ball. Come check us out. We have the South Jersey Stand-Up Championships. If they're not over by the time this airs, there could be a new champion by the time this airs, unfortunately.
Could be.
You should have got out in the earlier videos when I told you to, and you would have been out there watching what happened. But it's a lot of good fun, and I'll probably plug it again somewhere down below. But come out to High Note either way, every Wednesday night. Come check us out. Come check out this guy. He does comedy every time, and sometimes he hosts, and it's hilarious. That's the best. That's what I've seen there.
Yeah.
Anything else you needed to add on to that? And his, don't forget his Twitter for sure.
Yeah. We covered it all.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, sir.
Thanks,
It has been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to like and subscribe us down below, please. It helps me make the videos. It shows me that people are watching these and want to see more of them for sure. So like and subscribe below to our Facebook page and here on YouTube. And as always, don't forget your toilet poncho. Thanks, everyone.